Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening on iTunes right now, please leave a 5-star review. Quick shout out to this episode's sponsor. I don't know how many podcasts you guys listen to, but I don't know if you've checked out the Tower Power Hour podcast. It's a funny, libertarian-centric podcast hosted by Clint Russell, Reed Coverdale, Cole, plus their buddies Cole, Todd, and Jose. It's live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can check it out on YouTube, Odyssey, and anywhere else you get your podcast content. I've been a guest on it, so you know they have the good. They have good choice. They have good style, and they've made possibly their smartest decision ever by sponsoring me, this podcast. Who else have they had on besides me? They've had Dave Smith, Shoe on Head, Spike Cohen, and a couple of my fellow comedian buddies, Josh Denny and Crip Daddy. So go check them out. Tell them I sent you. Let them know that their money was well spent. And they definitely tackle a lot of, libertarian type topics, if that's your thing. Talking about freedom. We love freedom, don't we? My comedy album is coming out next month, finally. March 15th, live from January 6th, will be available for purchase. Pre-sale will be a couple weeks before that, so I'll let you know as soon as you can pre-order a copy. And then I got a bunch of stand-up gigs coming up. I'm going to be in Levittown, Long Island with Comedians of the Compound at Governor's Comedy Club February 26th. Then I'm heading to Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll be at Good Nights Comedy Club on March 17th. Then I'm heading to Savannah, Georgia, March 19th to do the Wormhole, and then I'm heading to Tampa, Florida to do Side Splitters on March 20th. Then Comedians of the Compound will be in Atlantic City April 22nd and 23rd. So for tickets, go to chrissiemayr.com. And if you want to see what other shows the Comedians of the Compound are doing, because they do sometimes shows without me if I can't make it or something, go to compoundcomedy.com. Amazing. All right, y'all. I am very excited for this guest. He was on. I was like, I fell in love as soon as I saw him. Like love so much as you can love a guest, and you're excited to talk to them. Relax, everyone. He's married. Back off, Chrissy. I was very excited to have this guy on as soon as I saw him on Mikhaila Peterson's podcast. I love her content. He is a TEDx speaker. He's an author. He's a men's image and identity coach. He's also a father of 5. Jesus Christ, because he has good sperm. Tanner Guzy, welcome to the show.
What an intro.
Like to
Thanks for
bring
having me
people
on,
on by
Chrissy.
talking. I always like to bring people on by referencing their sperm. So
This is I'm glad to be in that club. This is the first time that's been the reference for me, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Tell me, we were talking a little bit before we went live about actually how you met Mikhaila Peterson. I thought that was a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it was fun. We both spoke at TEDx in Roseville, out in California. My buddy Matt Bodro was the one who hosted it, and he invited a few of us out, including myself and Mikhaila. And we really just got to spend most of the weekend together, kind of everything for the day of. And then the next day we were out at Mark Bell's gym while she was on his podcast, got to work out with him. And she's great. She's definitely Mikhaila Peterson. The person that you see on the internet is who she is in real life as well. So we had a really good time, and it was fun to get to be friends with her and then get to be on her show later.
I was wondering how she is in person. We DM a little bit here and there, like on Instagram. Like I've had her on this podcast. I've been trying to get her on one of my other shows that's like an all lady podcast. So like in DM, it's like, oh, and then you watch her podcast and she just seems so serious and she's very polished. She's obviously gorgeous and so smart. And she's Jordan Peterson's daughter, right? Like, how could she not be? And I keep waiting for like a camera to pan and I'll see like an unmade bed or something like that.
No, she was dialed the whole time. Very, very put together the whole time. And you get to see, when you're hanging out with her, you get to see definitely more of that humor and that kind of personality and everything, especially once you break through the barrier, because being that she's not only, who she is in her own right, that she's built up the status that she has, but certainly as a result of being Dr. Peterson's daughter, there's a little bit of a a wall that she has to put up as she deals with people, where she's very polite, but once you can kind of break through that, then she's just a lot of fun. She's a good girl.
And I can't imagine how much sometimes I'm amazed she even responds to my messages because I'm like, she's so busy, she's
Mhm.
crushing it, and I can't imagine how many people are constantly hitting her up for shit for her and for, like, the access to her dad.
Right.
So, I'm sure she's feel like she's had to doubly prove herself because who she is, and people will be like, "Oh, well, you just,
Just riding
do
daddy's
your"
coattails. Yeah.
Yeah, just riding his, meaty coattails, carnivore coattails. So you like you do something that I find so interesting. You're a men's image and identity coach, which some people probably hear and they go, "Ugh, why do I need someone to help me have an identity?"
Mhm.
Like I have my job, I have I like sports, I have my interests. Like, why do I need help with an identity? And so this is a loaded question. So like why do men need your services and how do you like you know what I mean? Like how do you convince people? Like no one ever wants to be told that they don't dress well
No.
or that they're not put together. So I just imagine it must be tough because a lot of I feel like the guys who need the most help are not going to be open to it.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that, from a business or an entrepreneurship term, my sales funnel is incredibly long, and it takes a long time for guys to warm up to the idea of,
Sales funnel. What's a sales
okay,
funnel?
sales funnel is basically like when people first get exposed to you, and then they go through the process of getting more and more access until they come out on the bottom side if they're an actual customer. And it's all these different touch points, whether that's social media, listening to your podcast, maybe getting onto the mailing list, and it's all these little things that they do. And a quick funnel is kind of like when the Instagram algorithm gets you, and it's like, I just totally bought this new jacket or something on a
Yes,
whim, right?
I have done
Yes.
that. I have
Yep.
done that, and I kind of welcome that. It's like, "You know what? Hey, you got me." You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, I always feel so like I'm bringing up an article or something and you can see what kinda ads I'm looking
Hmm.
at, and, like, I like when I see that on other people's YouTube, and it's like, "Oh, I see what they're" and I'm like, "You got me. It's fucking leopard print. It's Coach."
Right.
Like, "All right."
Yep, that's it. So really quick sales funnel for those guys, and the longer ones are the ones where it takes like multiple touch points over and over and over and over again. And that's where it is for me, because the way that most men think about appearance, style, clothing is a very either indifferent or in a lot of cases very kind of like an antipathetic approach, where it's like, I don't want to think about this. This is stupid. It's effeminate. It's gay. It's lame. It's whatever else they can come up with to kind of write it off. And they're trapped in this kind of late 20th century mentality that real men don't care how they look. And it's only as they start to get exposed more and more to how integral the congruence between who you are on the outside and who you are on the inside is, that they start to get warmed up to the idea of, oh, I should actually put a little bit more effort into this. Or, oh, Tanner's not just saying I have to wear a suit all the time, and I'm not resistant to that idea. And so it's getting a lot of exposure to why and how this even matters. That's interesting for my guys.
It's a lot, and, right, because and I don't know why our culture is this way, like, it used to be, you go to church, everybody dresses up, men, women, everyone you see, old photos from, like, the 1800s or whatever, or the ones where they, like, they fix them and they to make them look modern, they add color,
Hmm.
whatever, everybody was dressed up, everyone wore a button down, no one's overweight, everyone's wearing, like, proper trousers and shoes and jackets, and it's like even fucking, like, dirt poor immigrants, you know what I mean? Like, but everyone's got, like, a jacket that fits
Yep.
them and a hat, and, like, what do you attribute to the loss of, like, overall, like, the valuing of, style, I guess, in culture overall?
So I think there's so many different factors, and you can get into a couple of the big ones. I think one of the major things is when you look at what the West was largely during the 19th, 20th centuries. It was a dignity culture. It was one where the value of someone was based on their dignity and how honorable they were, how much integrity they had. And as we started to move away from that, especially as was started by the baby boomers during the sexual revolution, it turned more into an individualistic culture where it's, I'm not going to be a part of any particular group. I'm not going to conform. I'm very rebellious that way. And then now it's moved into what we see as even more a victim culture. And so we have this kind of anti-dignity aesthetic that so many of the quote unquote cultural elites dress in. This is why the Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and all these other guys completely dress like they're absolute slobs, is because for them it's part of being in that anti-dignity culture. It's signaling
Wow.
that I've been so successful, I don't have to care how I look, I don't have to dress up. That's for the the lawyers or the other plebs that work for me. And so it's very much turned into an inverted culture as far as what the values are, and that's going to reflect in clothing just as much as it reflects in music or architecture or morals or anything else.
Wow, so it sounds like what you're saying that Steve Jobs wore a black turtleneck every day. Like that was actually kind of a flex. Like that was like, you know what?
Totally.
I've made it. I don't need to fucking mix it up every day. I have literally a closet full of black turtlenecks. Like, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do about it?
Exactly. And not
Yeah.
only that, not even that it's the same thing, but that it's dad jeans and New Balances, that he didn't have to wear a suit. Because a lot of guys in the 20th century wore the same suit every day or similar suits every day. But it was that he could dress down, and it was a way to flex on the people that had to dress up to come to work because he didn't have to do that.
I remember growing up, like my dad was a landscaper, and I remember he like hit. I guess he was in his 40s and he realized like I can't be a landscaper forever. Like I physically am not gonna be able to climb up trees. And then he just lucked out and got a teamster job because he had this truck driving license. But I remember always he'd come home and he'd like he had his like he had to take off his green clothes he wore for work, like a thicker fabric, and like my mom would always like kind of give him shit like, "Oh, Frank, you always wear green." Like even in his off time, like he just liked the color green.
Hmm.
And that's all I remember from my childhood is like my mom giving my dad shit for not, I guess, like dressing better. Um and I'm like, well, that's just he's a blue collar guy. And then I would hear him be like, I hear my mom complain like, oh, your hands are so rough. I'm like, he's literally fucking crawling up trees every
Yeah,
day, cutting them down like with his fucking bare hand, not bare hands, but like,
that would be awesome.
and then he just, I think he's like most guys where fashion was not something, it's more functional for him. And I guess looking back as an adult, I'm like, man, my mom shouldn't have like, now I understand more like how male female relations work. I'm like, she shouldn't have like beaten him down so much about like
Mhm.
what he wore because he was mostly just spending his life, like a lot of his time, a lot of his day in work clothes. And then it gets into this other issue of, so I was looking at your Instagram and your website, and it's so funny, and it's, you're talking about like how you can help guys, and it was like, you don't want to look like an Instagram boyfriend, like this idea. And when you say that, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
And it's this conundrum because like stereotypically, I think women are in stores more. We're kind of always shopping. We're always looking for a deal, for a sale. And then like once I feel like a woman like gets married and has kids, you're also constantly alert shopping for the whole family at all times.
Mhm.
Women do more of the shopping, they're doing more of the clothes buying. So it's gonna end up that women will ultimately end up like buying their guy clothes, but at the same time, you don't, and I've heard from not just you, from other guys, like, don't let your woman buy your, maybe I don't know if it was Kevin Samuels or somebody else, like, don't let your woman buy your clothes for you. You don't want to look like a cuck. You don't want to look like an Instagram boyfriend. But then it's like, but then we also have like, okay, a lot of men hate to shop. A lot of
Mhm.
men don't like to shop, but women like to shop and are willing. So it's like, what, how do we solve this? And I guess how can a woman help her man shop for and select clothes, but not make him look like an Instagram boyfriend? Because you're not gonna make a guy like shopping. Like that's
No.
never gonna happen.
No, especially if you are trying to get him to embrace the aspects of shopping that you enjoy. Because I enjoy shopping. I have clients that really enjoy shopping, but it's because we've learned how to shop in a way that appeals to what our aesthetic goals are and what it is that we enjoy about shopping. And so it becomes very different than the way that my wife likes to shop or the way that a woman likes to shop. And it's the same thing ultimately with what the results are as far as what you're wearing. It's very easy for me to spot a man who's been dressed by his wife or his girlfriend because he ends up looking cute, he ends up looking
Oh,
trendy.
what are like the telltale signs when you look at a guy and you go, "Oh, that
Okay, so
girl buys
usually
clothes."
there's way too much of a focus on color. It's especially like jewel tones, but there's all this focus on color. Everything usually is, especially on guys that are like 40 plus and they're dressing like they're in their early 20s or they're on top of whatever the latest trend is. That doesn't work because you have different goals than women. Women, it makes more sense to try to look as young and maintain that youth as long as possible. But for men, youth historically, biologically, is a liability. You're untested, you're unproven. And so getting to middle age is actually a higher status signal. And so we should be dressing in a way that signals, yes, I'm still relevant. I still, like, I haven't just peaked in high school. I didn't peak in college. I still have my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world around me. But I don't also wish that I were still 18 years old, and that, or that I think that I'm still 18 years old and that I'm valued that way. And so it is just as different as men and women's sexual strategies or their dating strategies, or even our diet and our lifting strategies or anything else, where, yeah, they're in the same arena, but so much of it is so different. And sadly, a lot of guys just kind of offload it to their wives, and then no wonder they get pissed at the results, because she has a very different set of prerogatives than you do.
It's so interesting because, like, and we're talking about innate what you think looks good. Like, innately, I look at a guy, I'll be like, "Oh, he's kinda built." Like,
Mhm.
shoulders, I'll notice first, and then I'll be like, "Okay, good face, whatever." Like, I can't get on board with, like, a small frame. That's why I don't understand the Pete Davidson craze. I'm like,
Right.
he just looks like a wind is gonna blow him over any moment, and then he's gonna land, like, on his dick, and he'll be like, "Ah, it caught me. Ah, I
But
couldn't stand."
it's that victim culture again, because we want safe, these girls want safe, scrawny boys that don't hold them accountable for anything, so that they can wallow in their own
It's
mediocrity. Whereas
so,
somebody
like,
who looks like a
unconscious.
man, yeah,
Yeah.
same thing. That's why the dad bod is so popular, because it gives everybody permission to just let off the gas and to just wallow in comfort and think that that's what we're designed to do and designed to pursue when we're here. So, I mean, I get it. I totally resent it. It's absolutely wrong, but I get it.
Like, it's bad for business, and then, like, with women, like, a guy innately will be like, "Oh, she's, like, in nice shape, she looks
Mhm.
like whatever. Does she look fertile? Does she look young?" There's, guys, tit guys, leg guys, it's like, okay, it's sort of like body based, like, if you the more you start looking like a formless blob, they're not thinking like, "Oh, I got." It's like being in shape, looking young, looking cute, and I understand that's like a lot of women. You'll see women, you'll be like, "Okay, girl, you gotta stop going to Forever 21. Like
Yeah.
you're about to be Forever 41." And I don't know, I have to constantly reevaluate my outfit just from having an older sister and a mom. And they were both like, well, my sister's a teacher, my mom like worked in schools, and we always would go to like Ann Taylor Loft because that's like, like do cardigans.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I just would look back years later, I'd be like, "Oh man, why do I have so many fucking like teacher looking clothes?" It's like I'm a comedian. I'm trying to be like I'm trying to be an entertainer. Like, why do I have so much frump in my closet? So a lot of these things happen like unconsciously.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I've been with my boyfriend like 7 years, and I think about shopping, I think the way men do about, like, the hunt of women, like, when they're single. I'm constantly on the lookout, like, constantly looking for a sale. It feels like an achievement to get something really good on a sale, like to keep track of something over the months and be like, "It went down. Buy, buy, buy,"
Yeah.
And so I also have that view for like stuff that I think my boyfriend likes. I don't want to try to dress him like someone he's not. Like I remember when I went apple picking this past year and I saw there was a whole plaid family in like red and black, like the tartan
Oh,
plaid. Like we
man.
all know it looks cute. Clearly, they're there to shoot their Christmas card photo. And I just was like, I don't know why I kept heckling the man. Like we were all there. Like, of course, I'm fucking there to pick apples too. Like
Right.
I'm a little
But his
basic.
balls are in her purse.
And I said,
He's
"Hey,"
completely
I said,
sacrificed his
I said,
dignity.
yeah, I said, "Oh, look at this cute plaid family. Look at that plaid man." And he looks
Yep.
up and he just
Poor guy.
I don't know why
Poor guy.
I wasn't trying to make him feel bad. It just looked like Instagram had popped out into real life, and I just was like,
Yep.
"Oh my god, you're here. I
They
know you
do exist in
guys."
the wild.
Like, "Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see your footy pajamas in a couple
Oh,
months."
man. Yep.
So, and I know that looks good. I understand that impulse, but you also don't wanna look like pussy whipped either. And I love my brother, and I know I can speak freely because he never fucking listens to my podcast. Like, I love that he's like, "Oh, yeah, I love comedy, I love stand-up." I'm the last person he'd ever turn on, even if I had, like, a special out. But the point is, like, I have now seen the way he dressed because, like, my sister-in-law's influence, and
Mhm.
it's generally a little bit better, but I could hear what you were saying about the color. I'm like, "He never used to wear burgundy before." Like, he was
Mhm.
never in, like, an autumnal orange, you know? but he's probably someone who needs help because he's just, I guess, a typical guy, like just not thinking about fashion, not wanting to shop. My boyfriend's the same way. He fucking hates shopping. He's like, and I was on a different podcast with a girl about how to meet guys. I'm like, oh, well, why don't you go to Target in the clothing section and then you can meet it, because my boyfriend will shop at Target for his
Hmm.
kid, for himself. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, go there, because women like to go to malls and shit or buy online. I'm like, if you want to meet a guy. And then Frank was actually like, no, that's bad because I'm in and out. Like, I
Right.
don't spend time.
No, it is a
Look,
mission, and you go and you accomplish it and you get out. There's no browsing.
yeah.
There's no gathering. It's a hunt. Yeah.
And, like, that's why stores like Burlington Coat Factory, TJ Maxx, and Marshalls, Home Goods, it's like it's opposite. Like, I have to bring, like, a backpack full of water. It's like, you're there all day, you're combing through each, like, shitty shirt. You're like, "I
Yep.
have to find something good." You're smelling candles for an hour, and, like, sometimes you'll spend a day like that, whereas, like, for men, that's, like, hell on earth.
Oh yeah. Hardest of passes for that. And I like this stuff, and I hate shopping like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of guys being like, "Don't fucking tell me what to do, like, you don't know me, like, you're gay, man," like
Yeah, it's funny that I always get that from the guys that are um it's never from the guys that I actually want as clients anyway. What I love is that the guys who are really interested in self-development, they really um a lot of them, they start by taking care of themselves physically. They hit the gym, they start dropping the fat, putting on the muscle, and they start to realize this is way better than just like I look better in the mirror or my sex life improves. But there's all these other things like my mental clarity is there and all of that. And so they start getting that dialed in, or they start getting their finances dialed in. Maybe they're entrepreneurs, or maybe they're, climbing the ladder that way, or they're doing relationship stuff. But it's self-development minded guys who are seeing wins in like this arena, this arena, this arena, and then they look in the mirror and they see the same clothes that they wore when they were in college, and they go, that doesn't work anymore. I need to bring this up to the same level that everything else is, because this is now a glaring deficit. And those are the types of guys that will find my stuff and go, this really resonates, because Tanner's not saying that you have to follow the latest trends or you only have to wear suits, but he's going to teach me how to think about this in a way that actually is self-expressive, and I learn how to do it myself instead of always being dependent on him or a stylist or my wife or something else.
like, what's a good way to upgrade? And I'm gonna get into, you have a very useful test, I think on your website, which I took, and I can either tell you the result I got, or I can take it again live so you guys can see. Like, the guys watching and listening can be like, "Oh, what would I am?" So it's like, I think there's a big group of men who they get stuck kind of in high school, like, and then they just dress that way through their 20s and 30s, right? And it's like, yeah, I see a grown man with an Abercrombie shirt. I'm like, what are you about to do, a keg stand? Like, what
Right?
Aeropostale? What's going on? Like, are you literally about to go finger someone in a Jeep Cherokee? Um, or
It's a
no, it
very
was a Jeep Wrangler.
specific reference.
It was a red Jeep Wrangler. He wasn't. He said he was an Abercrombie model. He wasn't.
Oh
Um,
man, I just meant he worked at the mall on the floor. They
yeah.
call them models.
And even I'm sure you help guys too. It's like if you're still wearing Abercrombie and doing like Axe product, not that I'm shitting on Axe body spray and Axe products. Like, I will shit on them a little because there might be one or two currently in my shower. But like, men like comfort, they like going to what they know works. How do you bust out of that comfort zone? Because you're like, fuck, now I have to start looking at what the sizing is for Banana
Mhm.
Republic. Oh fuck, now I have to go to this, like, what was the site that you were like mentioned? It was a Bombus or something with a B, where
Bonobos, Buckmason.
Bonobo.
Okay.
Yeah, Bonobo, where you're like, oh, this is tailored and specialized, and I don't know what my fucking, you know, dimensions are.
Right.
What is a good way to ease somebody into that, from like letting go of the brands they know that maybe aren't serving them, like, for who they are and who they want to be? It's
Yeah.
almost like you have to think of it like, build the studio and then you'll get really big guests. Like, build it and they will come. It's like, start looking and dressing like a boss, and then maybe your life or job or girlfriend will catch up to that.
Totally, totally. Okay. So it starts with understanding what kind of the basic erroneous assumptions are that most men have. And that is that in order to improve their style, they either have to spend more money, they have to dress more formally, they have to embrace more color, or they have to embrace more patterns. And that's kind of where most guys get hung up. And it's really none of that. The best way to start to kind of break out of your existing paradigm is, if you're a t-shirt and jeans guy, keep wearing t-shirts and jeans, but just go find somewhere that they're going to fit better. That doesn't mean going hyper skinny. That trend died 10 years ago. It was a terrible trend at the time
Really?
anyway.
10 years ago?
Yeah,
Oh,
right?
wow.
It's crazy already. Yeah. But Yeah, so don't go hyper skinny, but don't do the old like baggy late 90s, early 2000s stuff either. Just find stuff that naturally fits your frame. Focus on really simple neutral colors, black, white, blue, brown, gray, stuff like that, that it's all going to work with everything else. It's all going to be relatively neutral. It's going to look good on you regardless of your coloring or any of that. And then just pay attention to the fit, the quality of the material, and then a lot of times if it's got good texture to it. Texture really goes a long way in making your stuff look higher end, feel better without necessarily having to be super delicate or super attention seeking where you're uncomfortable having people call you out on your style or anything else like that. And so even if you just wear the exact same formality of what you're already wearing, but you improve in those arenas, fit, material, and texture, keep the colors simple, you're going to see massive improvements already. And it's going to start building that momentum in your favor.
Okay. What if you're somebody who's like, I'm not, they are a big texture person and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if a t-shirt is not so soft, like that kind of upgraded, very soft t-shirt
Mm-hmm.
feeling. And like, what if that is the top priority? What if like how it feels is all that matters? Is that necessarily a good thing? Or like, do you think part of this is being willing to wear something that doesn't feel as great, but maybe makes you look better? Like, I know this as a chick because I know lots of outfits that, like, aren't the softest, but, like, they're structured well and they make me
Right.
look, like, swervy?
Yeah. Yeah. So it really comes down to, well, there's two things. One is a lot of guys feel like anything that's unfamiliar is uncomfortable. And you need to learn to distinguish between the two, because if something is just unfamiliar, it's like, oh, I'm not used to how that material feels on my skin, or that jacket feels a little bit different than what I'm used to. Unfamiliar means in 3 weeks, if that, you'll be used to it, and you won't even pay attention to it. You won't even notice it anymore. Uncomfortable, where it's like, oh, my skin's actually breaking out into rashes, or this is so tight that I can't actually move my arms, or it sucks to sit down, or stuff like that. That's a problem. And so learn to distinguish between something being unfamiliar versus it being uncomfortable. And that actually goes quite a long ways in being able to expand what it is you're wearing. And then the other thing that it comes down to is how important is your comfort versus whatever the task at hand is. And you can think about this in a really like extreme way. But you think about guys in I just watched The Last Duel, and that armor that those guys were wearing as they're doing this last duel in France in the 14th century, there's no way that could have been comfortable. There's absolutely nothing comfortable about wearing that much metal, having it be that heavy, and trying to kill another man while you're wearing it. But it served a very specific purpose, and it didn't matter that it was uncomfortable because it served a very specific purpose. And so if the purpose that your clothing is supposed to serve, whether that's signaling status or communicating respect for the deceased when you're at a funeral, or helping you get into a more celebratory mood when you're at a wedding or you're going out with friends or something else like that, right? This doesn't look comfortable at all. If it helps you get, if the purpose of the clothing is higher than the comfort of the clothing, then man up and sacrifice a little bit of comfort for the higher purpose of what it is that your clothing is supposed to be doing. The idea that comfort is the end all be all purpose of clothing is incredibly childish.
Hmm. Right, because it's just like you have to sacrifice comfort at work
Yeah.
to achieve the next level. You have to sacrifice comfort at the gym to become stronger. So
Yep.
sometimes it makes sense to sacrifice comfort in your clothes if you're
Right.
like, oh, it's these pants make your dick look big, or I don't that's how men
That's
shop. I'm just thinking if
it.
I was a man, how I would shop. Do you have anything tighter in the crotch?
Oh man.
Like your shoulders look great in this
Mhm.
jacket or whatever. So you have something really awesome, which is if you're like, I don't know what the hell my style is. Style is gay. Where do I begin? You have a quiz
Let's do it
on
real time. Let's do
on
it.
masculinestyle.outgrow.us. Yeah, and you can tell me why you have certain answers. So I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna pretend I'm a guy, or maybe I'm transitioning, and let's find out your archetype. How many different archetypes are there?
There are 3.
There's three.
Mhm.
Okay, let's not. Should we reveal what they are?
Let's wait until you get it, and then
All
we
right.
can go from there. Yeah.
Okay. My main reason for exercise is to look as good as I can and become as strong as possible, improve my overall health and endurance. So this is tricky because I feel like I would answer all three for this.
That's fine. Yeah, but, for this, and this is what's fun, is with my actual coaching clients, we do a much deeper dive on this where we can actually look at like how much of it is this one, how much of it is that one. But for the
Right.
purpose of this quiz, we got to go a little bit more one dimensional. So, which of those would you say is the primary? Like, what's the main reason?
So tricky because I am such a chick, so I'm gonna answer these like such a my end result might be like, "You're a cucky guy, like, you're gay," like
None of those are an archetype.
archetype, kinda gay. Okay, but it's like, fuck. Honest if I'm being totally honest, like, right now, my goal is to look as good as I can. Like, of
Okay.
course I care about health, of course I care about
Of
strength,
course. Yeah. They're not
but
mutually exclusive.
like, I have a friend's wedding coming up, so it's like, "All right, I know I wanna look dope by October, so I'm gonna say look as good as I can." I most identify with James Bond, Indiana Jones, or Tyler Durden. So what is Tyler Durden like someone who's just I'm crazy. I'm for a good time. I'm fighting people. I'm flying by the seat of my
Project
pants.
Mayhem. But yeah,
Okay.
bring accelerationists, bring the world down. Yeah.
Indiana Jones is like fight for what's right generally. I don't generally button my shirt. I like hats.
Loves being in the outdoors, very capable
Rugged.
physically and knows how
Okay.
to navigate different cultures and all of that way. Mhm.
James Bond is swarthy, he has a gun in his pocket, and he's happy to see you. No, he's suit and tie guy, right, I
Mhm.
imagine. So what would I be? I mean, when I first took this, I chose Indiana Jones because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I feel like I'm more like him than, like, a swarthy," you know? If I were
Mhm.
a guy, I'd probably be more probably blue collar.
Okay.
But those are the guys I'm attracted to, so it's
Ooh,
so
so there's that
tricky.
projection there. Yeah.
I'm projecting, Tanner, fuck. But if I can't build shit with my hands, like, I see an IKEA box and I
Yeah,
have
do you actually
PTSD.
engage with the world physically, or is it mostly
I
do Tyler Durden, that's what you said.
I feel like I pet a ton of dogs. Is that
That
engaging?
does not count.
But James Bond is like Mart I like dirty martinis.
Yeah, nope,
On
sorry,
on
you're Tyler Durden. You're
on
you're a
stage
total iconoclast.
Okay, on stage, I do like to wear dresses, that's why I was like, "Is that James Bond?"
There
Alright,
you
I
go.
will pick so now I'm gonna have a totally different answer, Tyler Durden. I primarily interact with the world around me through physical methods, is what you're talking about before, working with my hands, building things, that was totally my dad. Financial and social methods, money and connections, or subtle methods, manipulation, psychological tactics. I mean, the third answer almost sounds bad. It's like,
Right?
if you're a woman, pick manipulation. Like, I I don't think I do that. Fuck, I do feel like I'm somewhat of a connector. I love to make people laugh. I'm definitely not building things, to be totally honest. I really respect and appreciate people that do, though. Um, I mean, I'm making more money now than I was before,
Mhm.
maybe 10 years ago.
But how big of a
Um
goal is that for you?
to make more money?
Yeah,
It's a
like, is your position in society and the amount of money that you make, is that kind of like a measure for that kind of traditional success? Is that a measure for your own sense of self-worth, or is it determined by
For
something
me,
else?
money is energy. It's fluid. It's like you get it to get something else. You get money so
Mhm.
you can buy a new microphone. You get money so you can go on the road and perform at shows. It's like you know, um what would I pick if I like to make people laugh. I like to make people think. I want
So you
people
like to challenge people?
I think so.
Yeah, do that bottom one then.
Manipulation.
I need to reword this one actually,
Yeah,
'cause
I
that
think you
does have
should.
some negative
I think you
connotations to it.
should because it's like it makes you think like, "Oh, am I somebody who is like a shyster?" Like, "Am I a used car salesman?"
Right, exactly.
Okay. I'm least likely to wear a three-piece suit, Wrangler jeans, or cargo shorts. I'm gonna say I mean, I shit on cargo shorts a lot. Like, I shit on my boyfriend whenever he wears them, but that's all he wears in the summer.
Oh, man.
Just because I feel like there's too many pockets.
Mhm.
It's basically the fashion equivalent of a ball sack. I feel like cargo shorts look they're too functional.
Yeah.
I'm definitely into dressing up. I'm definitely into jeans. I'm gonna pick cargo shorts. My ideal career is working outside, working a white collar job in like law finance, working in a creative field, being an executive at a large company, working at a startup, working with machinery. So I'm between working at a startup and working in a creative field.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm my own business, but, like, I'm not about new businesses per se. Maybe I'm leaning towards more creative because 'cause I'm fucking doing comedy and
Mhm.
podcasting. All right, I'm gonna lean towards the creative.
Okay.
I most enjoy working with people, working with my hands, working with data. People. That's probably
Yeah,
easiest.
that one seems easy.
This is a stumper for me
This
because
one's hard, right?
I failed history, so I'm not familiar with a lot of these time periods. If I could live in any other historic period, it would be 1920s America, the Mongol Empire, feudal Japan, the Roman Empire, the American Wild West, the Viking era, 1950s America, Victorian England, or Alexander the Great's Macedonia. This is so many periods here,
Mhm.
Tanner. Um
What jumps out to you? Which is the one that kind of immediately resonates just
I
on an emotional
mean,
level?
honestly, it's like a toss up between the Viking era because 'cause I'm half Norwegian and,
Okay.
like, 1950s America, which is, like, I feel like, "Oh, man, women had it fucking the best in 1950s." Like, what would it be like to just you graduate high school and then someone sweeps you off and marries you, and you don't have to sweat, like, working a fucking horrible desk job for 15 years. Um, Roman Empire, is that like Spartacus? Like, a lot of
Uh,
men without shirts fighting?
there you go, right? Or think about, Julius Caesar, think about crossing the Rubicon and kind of expanding the empire and all of that, yeah.
What do these answers have to do with, denoting your style? So this question is to find out your inner, like, what you love? Like, what's
Yeah, because what this really comes down to is style should be something that starts with who you are internally and the way that you interact with the world, and it becomes an outward expression of that, as opposed to being something that some editor at a magazine in New York or some designer at a fashion house in LA decides these are the colors and these are the cuts that are on trend this summer, and you need to buy that in order to be socially relevant. And
that
so,
never, like, hits me. Like, I used to subscribe YM, and then I'd read My Sister's 17, and
mhm,
then, of course, like, we all loved magazines in the '90s and the aughts before, like, the true digital a like, now it's like, you have to be like, liking magazines now is, like, retro,
right?
but, yeah, I never felt like, "Ugh, oh, this magazine is telling me what to wear, so I must." That never compelled me enough.
No. No, but a lot of guys get kind of trapped in this idea, mostly for fear or resentment of it, that in order to care about their clothing, that it means that they have to be following trends or following fashion, as opposed to learning who they are. And again, this is why that identity aspect matters so much, because when you know who your identity is, then you learn how to be able to express it through your clothing, through your grooming, through all these other external variables. And so it seems like why is this question relevant? But it does
Mhm.
tie to things about the general eras and the way that the world existed in those eras and how you feel you would thrive in one of those. Because
Ooh,
to be somebody that is in kind of like the flapper art deco decadence of the 1920s is very different than the brutality of being in the
yes.
Wild West.
Like, 1920s is like you love cocaine, and it's just I'm imagining, like, Gatsby and, like,
Uh-huh.
Leo DiCaprio, and you're
Yeah.
just like, I'll cut my hair short. I don't give a fuck. I'll wear a weird, like, shapeless, shift dress with fringe. What's the Mongol Empire about?
Think that's like Genghis Khan and the brutality of all of that and
Ooh,
how it was a very almost Machiavellian might makes right type of thing. Man, the things that he did and the level of atrocities that he committed. But for a lot of men, the idea of, and this is what's so interesting about doing this quiz personally and privately, is you have to be very honest as far as is that old kind of like even the American manifest destiny or the old British kind of colonization? Is there something about that that appeals to you about being able to
yeah.
go out and explore and conquer and do those types of things? And that says something about you, and that can be expressed in your clothing a particular way. Yeah.
That's cool. Feudal Japan, this is a guy who likes Asian chicks, I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
it's just if you're into hentai, that's it. There, that's an archetype.
You're like, "I studied abroad as soon as I could. I just fucking love Asian
Oh
chicks."
man. No, this is another one that is very, very rigid in its class system, in its rules, and in its hierarchy, and the way that hierarchy is maintained. And so a lot of guys that really appreciate this era of Japan, they love it because the hierarchy was so rigid.
Okay, okay, and because right, some men really do. I used to work at an all-boys school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I worked in admissions, and I was like, "Oh, wow, you really learn, like, boys really do thrive with, like, strict, like,
Hmm.
directions and sort of, like, clear expectations and
Yep.
discipline and, like, how that is more of a boy thing." That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Roman Empire, yeah, that's like Greeks and yeah, again, you have to have a nice chest, I imagine, fighting.
But another one where it's built around civilization building, or the idea. One of the things that the Romans did incredibly well was the integration of the body and the mind. Because right now
Oh,
the world exists where you're a weak nerd or you're a dumb jock, and
yes.
there's this false dichotomy. And the Romans built up where the real men were both. That was what was admirable. And so it's the idea of being able to be an ascendant culture. And obviously Rome was a decadent culture at one point too, but the way we kind of see and typify it and stereotype it is this kind of ascendant growing culture that spreads civilization.
So this would appeal to somebody who's like, "I wanna work for a startup, I wanna build a business, I wanna, like," you know.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. And Wild West, I feel like that would appeal to a guy, maybe he's a loner, maybe he's, like, a survivalist, maybe
Mm-hmm.
he's likes to explore, likes to
Yep. A
conquer.
little more stay off my lawn type of guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is for libertarians.
There you go.
The Viking era, I'm picturing right now is, the QAnon shaman breaking into the Capitol. My buddy with the
Oh, what
horns.
a waste.
Poor guy, he
Oh
just got
man.
sentenced to, like, 3.5 years. They really made an example out of
Oh,
that
right. Yeah. What a
guy.
sacrificial lamb. It's
Aw.
insane.
But Viking era, how is that different? You can handle cold temperatures?
Well, and again, it's more of that exploration, but there's a different type of brutality to it than there was with the Mongols. It wasn't quite as structured and organized. It wasn't about um, taking civilization and expanding it. It was just purely going out to explore and adventure and find out what your own limits were, what the limits of your tribe were. And so it was a different reason for that expansion or that exploration.
Okay, that's cool. 1950s America, to me, this is like if traditional gender roles
Hmm.
speak to you, then you would go with this.
Yep. Same thing
Victoria.
with kind of a abrasive of burgeoning technology and again a hierarchy, maybe not one that's so rigid as feudal Japan where you get into caste systems or things like that. In 1950s America, you could still move your way up between lower class to middle class
Mhm.
to upper class, but there's still a rigidity there and a hierarchy.
If you long for a time before dick pics, I think
Yes, there you go.
1950s is for you, and Victorian England is like maybe you fancy wigs, you're into, maybe uncomfortable corsets.
That, yep. Or even more of that hierarchy and the classes. You've got the aristocracy, you've got the rigid rules of you never wear black in the countryside or brown in the city.
Oh,
All of,
right! I
yeah.
remember that. I
Yep.
learned that, like, pretty recently, like, why black and brown don't go together.
Yeah, it was just British aristocracy rules. It was a way to separate the wealthy from the poor. Yeah.
Wow. And Alexander the Great's Macedonia, I'm not sure
Another
what that
similar to the
is.
Roman Empire, but another one that's more expansionist, where he started off in the Middle East and made his way all the way to, all the way through India and all the way into parts of deeper Asia, but very similar to kind of what the beginning of the Roman Empire was, but appeals to different men for different reasons.
Now I'm actually between the Wild West Viking era in the 1950s, and I'm not sure. I mean, I do sometimes fantasize about just putting cookies in the oven and,
You got to talk to my wife. She gets to live that life. She loves it.
oh, well, fuck you. No. Isn't that special? Oh, which one should I pick? Right, but this is style. So is it Wild West?
No, don't think about the style. Don't think about the clothes they wore. Think
What
about what the
appeals to you?
life would have been like. Hmm.
This would be hard, and my nails would constantly be breaking. I would be cold probably as a
Hmm.
Viking.
Yep.
Wild West, same thing. I'd be constantly dirty. But I do like riding horses. All right, I'll pick 1950s. I'm sure I'm gonna. All right, my most cultural pursuits like traveling, visiting museums, live performances, physical pursuits like sports, adventure, or hedonistic pursuits like getting drunk and high, one night stands, and parties. Wow, I feel like I at one time was about all of these. I definitely love physical pursuits. Um, I'm leaning towards cultural because it's like Instagram travel bitches. Like, I like to
Mhm.
go to Appleton, Wisconsin and see what that's like.
Yeah.
I don't need to, like, be
You don't need to go to
constantly
Ibiza. Yeah.
somewhere I was there, and it's the trashiest place ever. I was on a nude beach there once, and there was a guy, like, jerking off, like, 5 feet behind me, and I
Oh,
was like,
so
"I'm
fun.
flattered."
So
I'm flattered,
pleasant.
but yeah, I just heard like
Oh,
I
no.
was like, "Oh,"
No.
and I was like, "Oh, thank you." Uh, put it
Ugh.
away. It's fine. I'm glad I went once, but it's definitely full of Euro trash. So, again, it's like I like museums, but I don't like the other people who go to museums because they think they're fucking smarter than everybody else.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. I guess I'm gonna lean towards cultural.
Okay.
Oh, all right, now it's gonna email me my answer. My archetype is rakish. I didn't get this the first
What'd you
time.
get the first time?
I I got refined. It's because
Nice.
I answered with James Bond, I think the first time.
Yeah, there's a few that I saw you oscillate on that I can see what you were picking before would have put you refined instead of rakish. Yeah.
Ooh, oh, it's rakish. Okay. I'm just imagining raking leaves. Look at this. This looks nice.
You like this?
This all looks like guys I would be into,
There you go.
except for this guy in the turtleneck. No, I'm kidding.
All right,
Okay,
so you
this
want
is
me to
neat.
break these down?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 3 different archetypes. You have rugged, refined, and rakish. And the way that it breaks out is rugged men interact with and thrive with the world primarily through physical means. So these are guys that are adventurers and explorers. They're the gym rats, they're the blue collar workers, they're, the old school like the lumberjacks and the framers and all of that. And basically, they're most happy when they are building things and they get to do things with their hands. And there's a certain way that you should dress, not only from a function perspective to be able to facilitate that, but from a form perspective to reinforce that identity in your own head and also to communicate with other rugged men that you belong to that same kind of world as they do. The next one is refined, and these are for men who interact primarily with the world through hierarchies, and they love hierarchy. They
Mm.
love being able to navigate systems. They love being, these are kind of company men or the guys who are really good at networking, or they're trying to make as much money as possible, not necessarily because it buys them freedom, but because it's what buys them status. They love the idea of trying to attain as much status as possible. They date the hottest girl they can because of what it says about them, not because they're most attracted to her, or they do all of these other things because it's mostly about being competitive and being the top dog, and they're the ones who thrive in really rigid environments with a lot of rules. And then the last one is this rakish. And these are the guys who understand those hierarchies and those rules just as well. But they thrive by going out and breaking those rules, by rebelling against them, by rejecting them. And so this is where you get rebels and rock stars and outsiders and pirates and all of these other things. And so again, when you know how you primarily interact with the world, that's what should inform what your strategies are with your clothing, not what a YouTuber says, not what a magazine says, not what your wife says looks good on you.
Hmm. And why is it not always best to listen to just because don't you want you know what I mean? Don't you care about what your wife thinks looks good on you? Why is that not always the best, measurement?
There's nothing wrong with her. There's nothing wrong with getting her opinion, but you don't want to outsource it. You don't want
Okay.
her to be the one that's making all the decisions because she, again, like we talked about at the beginning, she has different aesthetic goals and different aesthetic drives than you do. And then in addition to that, nobody, and this is why I don't hire a stylist. A lot of
Mm.
guys will go to like Nordstrom and hire a stylist, or they will go on something like Thumbtack or another site and they will hire somebody that's in their area. But the problem is that they will never know you as well as you will know yourself. And so you will never dress in a way that really feels congruent and authentic, that looks as aesthetically great, that signals to important people in your life what you want to signal if somebody else is choosing your clothing. You need to learn how to do it yourself. And it's the same thing. Can you imagine if you had a speech writer that they wrote everything that you had to say with the conversation you had with your spouse or with your kids or at work? They would never be as expressive. They would never be able to communicate as effectively as you do because you've learned how to speak for yourself. You've learned the vocabulary, you've learned the grammar, you've learned the syntax, you've created your own idioms and your own slang and your own way of speaking that's very uniquely yours. And you should be able to do that with your appearance as much as you do it with your spoken language.
And another aspect of not necessarily letting your wife call the shots with fashion, because fashion sounds gay, clothes, um, you don't want to be like another one of the kids, like, she's gotta go to
Right.
Target and buy clothes, the kids have gone a size up, And what do you need? Because your pants don't fit you anymore. Okay, you know what I mean. Like you don't want her to mentally, just like men don't want to think of their like of course you're going to think of your wife as a mother because that's what she is, but it helps to be like, oh no, you're still a hot woman,
Right.
and
She's not the
we
mother.
have right. And just like it's important for both. Don't just think of your husband or boyfriend as like, okay, you're a dad, you're a dude, we've both like crossed the finish line. We both
Right.
gotten each other. We're not like hot to trap. We're not out. We're not
Nope.
prowling
We're
for
just going to
D.
survive for the next
We're
60
just gonna
years.
we're married and now we're throwing in the towel until we're dead.
Yep.
So,
Yep. What a
but
sad existence.
that's sad to me. But I just think it's something that goes ignored because there's so many more important things in life, especially for guys. I feel like guys, it's very hard for guys in society. You have all this pressure on you to like just be boss energy, be this breadwinner, don't show emotion, but not too much.
Right.
So there's a lot that you're balancing. And I think it's not that I used to think that guys were lazy who didn't. It's just that I think there's so many things that come before their clothes that it just becomes, all right, this is not life or death. But
Right.
then you end up ignoring it for years. Like I just think of my brother. I'm like, he never, I don't think, actually thinks about what he wants to look like.
Yeah. Or if he does, it's more from the perspective of my only concern with my clothes is that I don't look like an idiot. So he's dressing to avoid losing as opposed to dressing to focus on winning. And no, the average guy who's that way, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're incapable of doing it. It's because you're part of a society that tells you that it's wrong to care about it. And then it also didn't teach you how to do it the right way either. And as soon as you open up your paradigm and realize, no, traditionally you look at, go back through those lists, go look at the men of the 1950s or the Vikings or the men of the Mongol Empire or the Wild West. Every single one of those men in every single one of those eras very much cared about how they looked, and they dressed very differently than we do today. They put a lot of intention into their appearance because they recognized that it signaled masculinity. And so there's nothing wrong with caring about it, and it becomes really expressive, and you feel like a much more integrated version of yourself when you learn how to actually do it. You establish the skill set to do it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, pull that one up.
Here's from your Instagram. It says, why care? And here's a guy from a tribe that I'm not going to try to figure out because I'm going
No
to sound
idea.
racist.
No idea.
Why care? If we take a truly honest look throughout time and across the globe, we'll find a very interesting fact about men and appearance. That is that the men who cared the most about their looks were the warrior class, those who were viewed as the pinnacle of masculinity. So then you have to ask yourself, why is our culture so insistent that a concern for your appearance is unmanly?
Good
This is
question,
great.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's always the warrior class that have always cared the most. They've always infused the most symbolism, the most physicality, and even still today, you can look at the warrior class where if I dress like a lumberjack, sure, I'll get made fun of for being like a lumbersexual. Or if I dressed up like, if I'm a dorky kid and I dress up in a suit, then I'm going to get teased that way. But if I dress up like I'm a law enforcement officer or I'm in the military, then there's stolen valor issues or fraud issues or other things like that. And so these men that are even our current warrior class are the ones that are most protective of what the established aesthetic is for them.
We make fun of my friend Ryan Kinnell, who I do a show with on Fridays. We make fun of him all the time that he looks like a Fed because like he has the body type. And you know that
Uh-huh.
picture where they're all at the barbecue, like just standing
Yep.
around, and it's like, oh, we're normal guys. And it's like
Yes.
that's kind of how he dresses and looks, like with the Ray-Bans. And I
Yep.
think
The
he used to be
Casio
in the
watch.
Navy. Yeah. So it's like he is that part. I think we're also saying like Nick Ricada looks the part too.
Hey, Tanner, dude, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Actually, I just took the quiz too. I got rakish as well.
Nice.
So for my day job, I dress in thick, heavy, fire retardant clothes and big steel toe work boots.
Okay.
And I found that I want to dress as comfortable as possible as soon as I get home. I'm talking basketball shorts, hoodies, that's it. And I also realized that years ago when I was a baseball coach at Frozen Ropes, baseball academy, where I was wearing shorts and t-shirts all the time, athletic gear, I'd be more inclined to dress up when I'd go out. Do you find that to be unusual, or is that kind of par for the course as far as guys' preferences for non-work clothing?
So just to clarify, It's more about your on the clock versus off the clock clothing. There's this kind of intentional disparity so that you enter into a different mindset of, I'm no longer at the job, I'm now doing something different. Is that what you're asking?
Yes,
Yep.
I've realized that that's what I've been doing for the last, I guess, 15, 20 years. It's
Yeah.
always I want to dress completely differently.
Yep, and that's super common. That's actually something you should lean into, because one of the biggest powers of clothing has little to do with what other people think of you and how you dress, but more to do with how present you are in whatever it is that you're doing. And so if you're better able to relax and unwind and leave the job behind because you dress in clothes that are comfortable when you're at home, you should be doing that. And you could still do it in a way that you can have joggers and a hoodie and good sneakers that still look stylish, so you don't just look like a complete bum, but you can do it in a way that what you're triggering in your own brain is, I'm off the clock and I'm able to relax and I'm in a different mindset. That's why you should care about what you wear to the gym, because when you wear the right clothes to the gym, it has just as much of an impact on your lifting session as listening to the right music does, because it puts you in the right frame of mind. Same thing when you go out on a date, you get dressed up not to impress the other people at the restaurant, but because you feel more like you're actually there doing something that's separate from what your regular, like, we're going to go grab Chipotle together after, getting groceries type of thing. So you're spot on. And I would say lean into it in as many different environments as you can. Really good question, Frank.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Here's a funny comment from the chat. I want my wife and mother of my child to dress like Artie Lang.
Let me know how that goes.
I'm combing through the chat, guys. I'm trying to find actual serious good questions for Tanner. Oh, Demi Moore's tapeworm. Hello from below. Hi, Chrissy. Love you on FNT. But I have a serious question. Do you prefer gerbils or tapeworms? Demi and Richard are getting up in age. What? Oh, are you talking about Richard Gere? God, to be inside me, I've never had either. Honestly, tapeworms, because I'm gonna lose weight and I don't have to like worry as much about animal cruelty as I would with. I had gerbils in 5th grade, sugar and spice, so I wouldn't want to. I mean, are you talking about as pets gerbils? I don't know why I immediately thought inside me.
Yeah,
I guess
right. That took a turn.
Damn, I guess I'm cynical here. All right, inside me, tapeworms; as pets, gerbils. Wow, I wasn't prepared to answer that. Okay, I'm looking through to see if there's any good questions in the chat. Hair and aging, address this. It's kind of vague, but
I think I know where you're going. And essentially, if you're starting to lose your hair, embrace it and just shave it, because there's nothing you can do to hide it. And
at what point? At what point? Because there's like degrees.
Right. I would say if it's certainly if you're going at the crown at all, if it's starting to thin there, it's gone. Just game over. If you're starting to recede a little bit back on the forehead, then you can get away with it for a little while. But the problem is if you look like you're trying to hide it, then what it does is it signals a self-consciousness about where you are, as opposed to if you shave it and you just fully embrace it and lean into it, it signals that there's a confidence to it. It's the same thing with guys who have to wear glasses, where the ones that are really like the thin wire frames, or they don't really have any frames at all and they're trying to disappear, we can still see your glasses. And you don't want to look like you're trying to sneak by that you're wearing glasses. You either do LASIK, get contacts, or you wear really big, bold glasses that kind of dare people to not notice the fact that you have them. So anything that is seen as a quote unquote like genetic deficiency, like balding, getting glasses, right?
I have a tail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's the same thing with even like let's say you've had something amputated or something else. Like, lean into it, embrace it, as opposed to it being something that you are self-conscious about, and watch what it does, not only for your confidence, but also for the people, as far as their respect for you and their confidence in interacting with you as well.
So if you have like an amputated leg and you have like a prosthetic leg, get like lightning bolts on it, get like a racing stripe on it.
That's it.
Don't hide it.
100%. Yeah.
It almost sounds like, did you watch Cobra Kai at all?
Yes.
That's like what's his name?
The Hawk.
Who had Hawk, right? And he had like
with the lip,
left lip thing, and then he's like, get a fucking mohawk, and then he was a
right?
badass.
Exactly. Distract that
like
way.
Being sheepish of it.
100%.
Yeah, I remember like my dad would just apologize to us kids over and over again. Oh, so sorry you all have glasses. I'm so sorry you're all nearsighted. Like, sorry we passed on this genetic. I'm like, relax.
Just it's okay. It's okay.
Like, relax, Dad. Like I said, dressed to look like a cop, says the real Hydro. Let's see. I'm trying to look like.
I got another one.
Oh.
So it seems like over the last 10 years or so, there's a lot more dudes, especially white dudes, who are shaving their heads bald.
Mm-hmm.
Is that quitter's mentality for guys who are starting to thin or get like a whatever, the wishbone or the horseshoe? Do you think that this is a trend that's going to continue or it's going to finally slow down? Because it seems like there's a lot of completely bicked headed guys out there now.
Yeah. The hard thing about it is you'll never know what's going to continue or what's going to slow down. But to me, it makes sense because, again, like we were just talking about, it shows that you're leaning into it as opposed to being self-conscious about it or trying to hide it. But there's also an element of this kind of like tough guy physical masculinity that you get. And I think Jeff Bezos is a really good example. And obviously like his going on TRT and really building his muscles and everything, but him
Like
shaving his head
Rogan.
bald, right? Exactly. Yeah. Rogan's another really good example. You look at Jason Statham, Bruce Willis, all of these guys, either they cut it really short or they bick it and they go all the way. And it either creates some toughness that isn't there, or for the guys that have it, it leans into it even more. Where I do think we may start to see some changes on it is that most guys who go bald almost feel like an obligation to balance it out by doing a beard. And I don't think that will necessarily be a beard culture forever. I think at some point we'll go back to, maybe it's going to be 1860s giant sideburns, or we're going to go back to being totally clean shaven. It's probably going to be a long time before we do the 90s version of the goatee again. But that I think we'll continue to see more variations on that than necessarily guys trying to grow out or comb over or do something else with losing their hair.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it seems like it's guys are all either all or nothing. Like there's
Mhm.
hardly any like letting it kind of go or
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
weird to just go bick all the way.
Oh, how come? What makes it weird to you?
I think everyone's going to eventually go bald to some extent. I feel like while you still have hair, why get rid of it all? I think there's a lot of people out there who go bald very young that
Mhm.
wish they could have as much hair as. Obviously, you're not going bald, but it's higher on the top. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I think people,
Or
yeah,
maybe
whatever it's
that's just
called,
your hairline.
right? The
Or
Yeah, I
hairline.
mean, a
That's what
lot
I'm
of it is
talking
because
about.
I'm not losing any. My dad and his dad, when he passed away, like still super full head of hair. We just have a higher forehead line, and so I don't think I'll
Okay.
ever go any higher than this. But no, there's a reality to that, and it doesn't mean that like as soon as you start pulling hair out in the shower, you got to bick it and you got to go. But as soon as it starts to look a little bit too nerdy, professorial, grandpa comb over,
Yeah,
anything like
yeah.
that, then that's when it's time to jump ship.
I understand
like it's
that.
like
Yeah.
levitating above your head. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Thanks.
yeah.
right. Because I feel like if I was a guy shaving my head, I'd be like, oh, now I have to get jacked or else I'm going to look like a comic book villain.
Which is
Like,
not a bad thing, right? It's good to have a little extra incentive.
jacked is good. Jacked is always good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see. Yeah, I remember Frank was like, "Oh, just buy me a black hoodie for Christmas." And I just like couldn't the ones I were buying was like too short and I just kept like striking out. And for a couple of years he was like, "Just stop buying me clothes altogether." But then I would be like, but you need things." So I would go back
It's
and
a
forth.
challenge. Well, and even then, like the hoodie or the lounge stuff, I mean, there are ways to do it really well. Two brands that I really love that do this incredibly well are Oliver's Apparel and 10,000. They're both more of this kind of like gym style. 10,000 very especially is they're just gym only. But I mean, I was out for a run this morning and I had one of their hoodies on. Oliver's is this kind of like you can wear it in the gym, you can also wear it out and about. But again, really simple. I had a black hoodie on, but the way that they cut it and design it, the way that it fits, the way that the hood actually like stacks up, so it adds more visual weight up here that gives more of a V taper, as opposed to this is a beat up old thing that my dad picked up at Costco 30 years ago and it just hangs lifelessly off of me. It's so much more about the material, the construction, and the care than it is necessarily about any particular article of clothing being good or bad.
Yeah, not all hoodies are created equal, and if
Right.
you're, like, somebody who wears a hoodie, like, several times a week, it's like, it makes sense to upgrade a
Get
little
a good
bit.
one.
You mentioned 10,000 in Oliver's. What are some good brands that would be like, okay, if someone's going to step out of their comfort zone, maybe they just do Gap and Old Navy. What are some, because it's easy, or Target, what are some good like half step brands that won't break the bank, but that will be like a little bit more of a, like you're evolving with your style?
So this is where things start to get a little bit tricky because brands are going to be very different depending on what your build is. I think this is another thing that a lot of guys, rightfully so, get kind of frustrated about, is they assume I wear a large t-shirt, and so that means that I need to be a large in everything from everybody, and that they're all going to fit the same. And you can go buy t-shirts from 17 different companies and they may all be a large, but they're going to fit very differently. Some of them may be too big in the shoulders or too small in the sleeves or anything else. And so the hardest thing about finding or recommending brands is that there's stuff that works for me, but that's because my build is the way that it is. I'm 6 feet tall, about 180 pounds. I've got some muscle on me, but I'm a pretty more
I
like endurance
thought you
athlete
were
guy.
so much shorter. Why did I think that?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I'm looking at your Instagram. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I
No,
had you pegged as like 5'8".
no, no. I mean, maybe. I mean, my wife's
Maybe
tall.
because you're
She's
kind of.
5'9", so she's up in there with
Oh,
me.
maybe
Yeah.
that's why. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, no, but I'm at a good 6 feet. Yeah, right there. And so stuff that
Oh,
fits me is very different than what fits for my clients who are 5'6", or my other clients who are 6'8". And so what I recommend you do in these situations, and this sucks, but it's worth it, is don't go to the Gaps or the J. Crews or the department stores, because what they have to do is they have to appeal to as many different body types as possible within a geographic area. You're much better off if you go and you find brands that are very specifically catering to your particular build, and they have an online presence. And you'll have to shop online, and you'll have to do some experimentation between, like, these guys work and those guys don't. But there are brands like Barbell Apparel that their whole focus is a demographic of guys that you don't fit into regular pants because you lift so much that your butt and your thighs are huge, and so they build stuff to that demographic. Or you can get companies like Peter Manning or Ash and Airy, that all they cater to are guys that are 5'8" and shorter. And so it's stuff that's
oh,
built
wow.
specifically for smaller guys, but it's proportionate and done that way. And so it's worth doing some homework to find what's going to work with what your build is, in addition to what your style is, and then sticking to those brands from there.
Because I know there's a lot of guys that just they don't like buying online. They want to be in person. They want to
Mhm.
try it on. You're saying you might have to give up some of that. Maybe you find a brand that's recommended and you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy the medium and the large and I'm going to try them both on. And
Yep.
maybe, do you think it, not to be afraid of that process, which women are used to. We're used to buying dresses in 2 different sizes and like
Right.
several, what I mean? Like, and then we just send them back and stuff. So you think
Think
men,
about it. Think about it like a cut. Being on a cut sucks. It sucks to have to, like, count your calories and get your macros figured out and do all these other things. But when you get to what your target weight is, maintenance is really easy, and it's worth it to just stay on maintenance, because then you look great and you feel great and you're on maintenance mode. It's the same thing with this. Like, yes, it sucks to try and buy t-shirts from Cuts and Son of a Tailor and Buck Mason and all of these other brands to figure out who's going to work for you. But the nice thing about online shopping is when you find stuff that you love, like I love Henleys from a company called Buck Mason. And when one of them wears out, because I wear them all the time, I just buy the same one again. I click a few buttons and it shows up at my door. I don't have to go shopping. And so there's that initial upfront effort that really sucks, but it's infinitely easier after that once you're done. And so it's worth it to put it in that way.
how do you know if, like, I know a lot of chicks like Marie Kondo. Well, I like Marie Kondo because it's like, oh, if you don't like it, if it doesn't make you feel something, like, because
Mhm.
I'll hang on to shit for years that I won't wear, and I'll be like, you know what, I might be a size 2 one day, and it's like, girl, no. But how do you know? How would you address a man going through his closet, and like, how do you determine if something is beat or not, or if this is worn out? You said like when your Henleys are worn out, so it's
Mhm.
like sometimes people get like, they say you get nose blind. What if you're just used to like you gloss over at your closet and you really don't know how to decide like, okay, is this something I should donate, or, does
Yeah.
it still have life in it?
Okay. So from a physical perspective, start paying attention to, does it look like it still fits the same way that it does, especially with lighter stuff like t-shirts or Henleys or sweatshirts or things like that, where they have some stretch to them, and eventually they're just going to kind of hang lifelessly. Like the sleeves are going to be all stretched out, and you're going to get bacon collar where the
Bacon
collar is all
collar?
stretched. Yeah, because it gets all twisted and rolled, and so it looks like a thing of bacon as opposed to being an actual crew. That's a stupid menswear term for it.
Oh, like it waves a little.
Yeah, it
Oh, I
waves and
see
it gets twisted and
Yeah.
rolled and all of that. Like all of that. Or for me, like with my Henleys, it's because I actually get holes at the bottom of the placket, like holes start to form, or you get some kind of like underneath the cuffs and stuff like that. And so it's paying attention to little things there. From an aesthetic perspective, basically the easiest question is this something that I was wearing in high school? And if it is, I should probably be done. I mean, I have
Really? No
friends on
matter what?
Facebook.
No matter
I
what it is?
mean, for most guys, because even if it's a pair of jeans or a t-shirt, the fit is different now than it was back then. I look at guys, my 20-year high school reunion is this summer and we're going to go. And I know I'm going to see guys that are still wearing their like flex fit ball caps that are backwards and their relaxed fit Abercrombie jeans that are too long and they're frayed at the bottom because they drag on the
When did you
ground.
graduate high school?
2002.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
Are
like
we
I was
same?
I'm class of 2001.
Atta girl, there we go. Same age. So you know what the aesthetic is like. You know what it
Yes,
was,
Abercrombie all the way,
right?
Hollister. Oh my God, you walk into a Hollister store and you're like, I want to live here. It
Exactly.
feels so good. Everyone's jacked. The girls are hot. Everyone's horny. Life is good.
Right. And that's why they hold on to it, because sadly for a lot of guys, that's when they felt like they were the most free. That's when they felt like they were the most themselves, especially, if it kind of translates into college and then they get trapped in family or in a career or something else. And they sacrifice a lot of their sovereignty for the sake of pleasing other people. And so they want to dress like they're still holding on to what they were when they were at their freest. And that doesn't work. I lost you, Chrissy. You still here, Frank? Oh, she's back.
Yeah, we're talking about sovereignty and then my internet.
Yeah, no worries. I just pissed you off so much you left as soon as I said that guys give up when they get married.
Oh, I missed that part.
No, I'm teasing. But I mean, yeah, I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna see that this week. Okay, if you're gonna do that, fine. But carry your old Nokia phone and frost your tips when you bleach them that way, and like be congruent that way. But otherwise, admit that other things in your life have progressed, and so your aesthetic should progress and grow as you progress and grow as well.
Right, and it doesn't mean that you're signing up to look like your dad or your
No,
grandpa or an old man. I wonder
not
if
at
that is
all.
a fear.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be that way at all.
From Senor Sticks, how is your NFT game? Is it the future? Also, hair dye.
NFTs. So I've played around with crypto for the last couple of years. NFTs are still an enigma to me. So I don't know. I'm totally out on that.
I don't get it either. I don't think it's shit, but
It's gonna be really. I've got some friends that have done really well with it, and I don't know. It'll probably be like I remember first hearing about Bitcoin in 2011, and I'm so pissed about it that I just was not in a position to even do anything. Which is funny because had I put $5 into Bitcoin in 2011, you would have been absolutely fine now. But
wow.
so who knows? Maybe NFTs are going to be the same thing as Bitcoin was in like 2015. Who knows? As far as hair dye, I really don't recommend it.
Not at all. What about the just for men where you can do some and like
So this again
partial?
goes back to the idea of conflating the idea of youth because it's appealing for women is also what's appealing for men. And having some gray in your hair or going gray or even going just completely gone again is a signal of you've got okay, think about it this way. You're not afraid to fight the guy that has really soft hands and a pristine face. You're afraid to fight the guy that's got cauliflower ear and has,
Yeah, true.
scars on his knuckles and stuff like that. And so from a just cultural and a status perspective in these things, you want the aesthetic equivalent of the cauliflower ears, that you've been around the block a few times, that you've had your fair share of run-ups, that you've had successes and failures, and you've done things well and you've done things poorly, and that you're still around and you're still continuing to grow and to climb, as opposed to I'm completely untested. I'm just trying to look as young as I can for as long as I possibly can. So I would say don't do it.
Ooh, okay, interesting. So I just saw the new Jackass movie, which is like fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
Highly recommend. Could not help but notice like Johnny Knoxville has gone completely
he's
gray.
gone. Yeah,
And I was like, I have mixed feelings because I don't know if he looks like a little bit like of a Nordic king or a villain. And I'm like, I think I like him better brown, but I don't know. So this brings up an interesting point of like embracing. I assume that this is all natural for him. Like he's not
yeah. I doubt
purposely
he's
trying.
yeah dying it that way, right? Yeah.
So like, what are your thoughts on like,
Well, here's what's hard is you get guys like him, or you can pull up some images of Jeff Goldblum as a really good example of this, where even Jackass is a good example. He's holding on to his youth. The things that they're doing are the same things that they were doing 20 years ago when I remember seeing Jackass videos at school assemblies in high school. And so it is kind of holding on to the past. The way that his stuff is super skinny, that those glasses are big and unapologetic, but they're almost like cartoonishly so. There's this juxtaposition between the dignity and having a few reps under your belt that his hair and the wrinkles in his skin and all of that indicates, but then holding on to the youthfulness, like his tie is untied and all of that. And
he's
again, Jeff,
still very fucking cool. Like he's still like, I want to go have a beer with him, you know?
right. But part of that is also because he's Johnny Knoxville,
Yeah.
right? If this were some accountant that his status isn't as high, he's just some guy in your neighborhood or some guy, then it's not going to carry the same weight or have the same gravitas as it does with somebody like Johnny Knoxville.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up a picture of Jeff Goldblum because I think he looks great, and he seems still so youthful and fun, and his teeth are great. Like he's very put together usually.
But he's just so he's pretty. He's
He's pretty
pretty.
without being gay. Like he's aesthetically pleasing.
But all of this is still very indicative of a feminine lens on clothing,
Uh-huh.
where there's no signal of mastery or strength or honor or dignity or integrity. It's all trendiness and accessibility and flash and brand reliance and all of these other things. And so it's conflating what women try to signal with their clothing with what men typically historically have tried to signal with their clothing. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So you would not use Jeff Goldblum as an example of someone to like be inspired
No,
by
I usually make fun of him.
fashion-wise.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So who would you I know like men are not, as obsessed with celebrities as women are, but like who would you look to be like, okay, if you were gonna dress like a celebrity, who do you think is a good example?
I don't know.
Hmm.
That's a good question. Especially because
It's
so
hard to
many of
know.
them.
Yeah, it's like we only see them when they're dressed up for events, so it's hard to
Right,
see
and
there
that's
every
usually
day.
done by a stylist or somebody else, but it's worth it to pay attention to the way that costuming is done in films where, what they've done with Daniel Craig's version of Bond, especially his suits are a little bit too tight and a little bit too kind of 2015, but his casual style is incredible. The way that they did, oh, what's his name? Jeremy Irons, the way that they had his Alfred in the DC movies was really, really cool. So much texture, so much of this kind of like more rugged, refined version of Alfred, as opposed to what Michael Caine's version was in the Christian Bale Batman movies, and also a really good example. But his was done incredibly well. You can look at like the way that Chris Pratt dressed in Jurassic Park. Yeah, let's pull up. Yeah, look at this. Like, look at all that texture,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
there, and
he's
just
put
like how
together.
rough his face is, and all of this. Like, there's a weight and a leaning into who you are, and this kind of like craftsman component, and all of this. That's really really cool about what they did with his character. And that doesn't mean that you guys now need to go out and try and find ties that are flannel ties like that, or you need to wear Glen plaid waistcoats that are like that, because that may not work for you. But that same ethos of someone who embraces his age, the maturity, the wisdom, the mentor, all of
Mhm.
that comes with it, do that, and then do that in a way that it's appropriate with what you do for a living, with where you live in the world, with what your own personality is. But lean into this type of stuff as opposed to Goldblum, who looks more like he's still just trying to be relevant for teen girl magazines.
Yeah, and a vest might not be every guy's bag. Like this is
No.
like the last guy we were showing reminds me so much. I don't know if you're familiar with Gavin McGinnis, but he is a
Mhm.
guy who's like a very like he's pretty manly, but he's like no, fashion is important to him
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
style and like getting dressed up. So I think he's somebody
Yeah,
who's
he leans into it really well, yeah.
and Ryan Reynolds I think is another good example of a guy who dresses well. What are your thoughts on his style?
So Reynolds is a tricky one because, um, his own personal style is pretty dang good, and you can find a lot of good examples of him. But a lot of the stuff that you end up seeing on the internet, like this photo, for example, is something that would have been styled by a magazine at a
Okay.
particular time. Like a super skinny lapel like that is very GQ 2010, 2011,
Okay, okay, let me
right?
find a better example. Okay, so here's
So he
one.
looks great. He looks great,
Yeah,
but and then the other thing that's again is hard about this is that status comes in massively. Whereas for women, it's more about physicality, body shape, and all of that. So you're not going to try to dress like Ana de Armas if you're 300 pounds. Like it just doesn't look the same on you as it does on her. And
right.
for men, it's not necessarily the physicality so much as it is the status. Like here's a good simple example. But even then, for a lot of guys, like the fact that he's got those pleated trousers on, I love doing pleated stuff, but that's kind of out there for a lot of guys. That's pushing that aesthetic limit for them to some
Too
extent. It's
too fancy,
yeah,
too detailed.
yeah, or for them, they feel like, oh, grandpa wore pleats. There's no way I'm going to do it. And they don't realize that pleats are actually now coming back around because you're grandpa and what you considered to be edgy and aggressive. I did a post on this about short shorts where you go to a high
Mm,
school and most guys are wearing short shorts because it's their dads and their grandpas that were embracing the Michael Jordan long shorts in the 90s. And that's old. That's not rebellious
that's
anymore.
so
That's
funny.
stale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything like okay, if you're a shorter guy, a smaller guy, is there anything you could add to your closet that will make you look not like you're trying to play dress up or look bigger than you are, but is there anything that can enhance you and like something that you would recommend for like shorter, smaller guys, and then
Mhm.
something that you say, okay, stay away from this if you're like a bigger, more overweight. You know what I mean? Like, what
Yeah.
are like good go-to
Yep.
things?
Okay, so if you're shorter and you want to add more just kind of like visual heft or just add a little bit more of like an imposing presence, um, the first thing is to make sure that your pants and your shorts are the right length because if they're too long, so that means if your shorts come to the knee or below, then it's going to make your legs look shorter than they are. So your shorts should be at least above the knee, if not like mid thigh. And then that means your pants, like you want the end of the bottom of your pants to be right at the top of your shoes, not folding over themselves multiple times up around your ankles. If you are wearing shorts, then you want to go with no show socks because if you're wearing a ankle sock or even like an over the calf sock, then again, what it does is it makes your feet look like they're longer at the expense of your legs. And that kind of sets this visual precedent of your leg being shorter, which makes you look shorter overall. When
Hmm.
it comes to wearing stuff up on top, wear stuff that adds more weight onto your shoulders or opens up your neck a little bit more. And so maybe that's a V-neck t-shirt instead of a crew neck. That's a Henley with a couple buttons undone. That's a button-up shirt with some buttons undone. Maybe it's layering by doing a sport coat or even a casual jacket that's like a field jacket or a bomber or a Harrington, because the more visual weight you can add on your shoulders, the more that V taper it's going to create. And that's more appealing than necessarily adding more height. This is the V
Yeah,
taper matters more than necessarily the height does.
it's better to look put together uh than anything else. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely different textures. Like that
Yep.
ends up looking cool.
Totally. As far as the bigger guys, the two big things that you guys run into is one, when you try to hide your weight with baggy clothes because it doesn't hide it, and then you just look fat and sloppy. And so you want to wear stuff that still fits well. That doesn't mean you go stuffed sausage tight because that becomes a different problem unto itself. But most of you guys are nowhere near that. But when you wear stuff that's extra baggy, then it just looks like you have no self-discipline whatsoever. It reinforces all of the negative connotations that come with being overweight. Or sadly, what I see a lot of other guys do is they dress well, they get the fit dialed in, but they embrace too much of, again, color or pattern or formality. And so what they end up doing is they end up looking kind of like a big teddy bear or the goofy safe uncle or the nice guy or something else. And so you want to stick with things that are darker colors, maybe things that have a little bit more of kind of like a military or a workwear aesthetic or heritage to them, so that you can add some physical imposition and some kind of like some danger, as opposed to looking like you're just a chubby nice guy.
So covered in spikes.
There you go. Just go old like gutter punk. Do the big Liberty spikes and the battle jacket and your Doc Martens and you're set.
Wow. It's cool. It's like really cool to hear you talk about this because it's like there's so much to know, but I can understand like from a guy who's not thinking about this, it seems like overwhelming and like
Mhm.
where the fuck do I start? And that's why like you help guys with this, like you can help what do you do? Zoom meetings? Like how do you help if someone really is like, okay, I need some like one-on-one help?
Totally. Yeah. So what we do is I work with guys both in small groups and one-on-one. And essentially I teach you how to think about this the way that I do in the way that's applicable for you. And so there's three kind of pillars to the program. The first one is just simple aesthetics. And this is a lot of the stuff that we've been hitting. Like if I'm shorter, what do I do? If I'm bigger, what do I do? If I'm older, what do I do? And these are kind of the general rules of that. The second one is communication. And this is things like, I just brought on a new client yesterday who is in Wisconsin and he owns a roofing business. And so how is he gonna dress being in a very rural environment, working in a blue collar industry, so that he doesn't look like he's prissy and he can still connect with his laborers, but at the same time as he's meeting with contractors at the city or with big business owners or potential investors, he doesn't just look like he's another laborer. He actually looks like a successful business owner. So how do you take all of these
Right.
factors as far as where you live, what you do, who you interact with, and then what do you want to communicate? I've got another client who is a doctor down in the South, and he's a really big guy, like just big, imposing, strong guy. And he's also very serious. And we're working on helping him dress in a way that kind of softens that up, because most of his demographic are little old ladies that they're getting bad news. And so we have to have him dress in a way
Oh,
that softens his bedside manner, so
tell
that
him to take his
he's
shirt off
yeah,
as
right,
he's telling
exactly.
them,
Yeah,
"Look,
yeah,
you
just
have
snuggle them
cancer.
that
Well,
way
look
and
at
then be good.
this."
But it's this softening. And so the communication aspect, what do you want to communicate? How do people interpret what you're doing? And all these other things. And then the last aspect of it is self-perception. How do you take who you are on the inside, and not just who you currently are, but the better version, the next best version of you, and how do you express that on the outside, so that when you see yourself in the mirror, when you see photos that you post up on social media, or you do new pics for a dating app, or it's the family photos that you take every year, and it's not the orchard people that you got dressed by your wife, but you actually look like, oh, that looks like me, right?
Orchard people.
Exactly. But then what it does is that reinforces every time you see yourself, oh, I actually see me. I don't see the old version of me. I don't see the safe and complacent version of me. I don't see a guy that's trying too hard and is a fake and a poser, but I actually see the real me, and I see the better version of me. And so that starts to become what you tell yourself about who you are. Yeah.
So they can go to your link tree, and check out, like, if they wanted to maybe hit you up about coaching, maybe they go, yeah, to your link tree, or probably you can find it on any of your socials, your Twitter,
Yep.
your Instagram.
Yeah, and
And
honestly, you guys, I really love talking about this, as you can tell, and so I keep my DMs open on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're interested in coaching, um, shoot me a message on there, and well, I'll kind of ask you a few questions to kind of gauge where we are, and then I'll send you a link so we can schedule a call and see if we'll be a good fit, and I'll be able to help. But yeah, I love being able to help guys with this, because it really does become it's I hate the word empowering because it's been so corrupted,
it
but it
has. Yeah.
right, but it really is as power gaining as learning how to read and write. Where imagine trying to express yourself and trying to communicate with the world around you. If you could say things and you could understand what people were saying, but you didn't know how to read or write, and just how frustratingly limited you would be. And this is aesthetic literacy. And so by teaching you how to be able to do this, it opens up your world just as much.
Yeah, for sure. From Nechama, thoughts on stepping up your style when the people in your locale dress very casually or don't put in much effort? Does one just accept standing out? I think you
So
covered parts of this. Yeah.
yeah, so it's fine to stand out a little bit. Again, if your status is enough, or you're more on the rakish side and you kind of thrive on standing out. But again, okay, a lot of my clients are guys that work in the tech space. A lot of my neighbors are guys that work in the tech space. And a lot of times what we end up on is you still wear jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers, but they just fit better and they're higher quality materials and they look a little bit more intentional. And so you don't have to, if everybody in your locale is dressed very casually, then still dress casually, but do your casual better instead of having to dress more formally.
Like, don't do the New Balances where you step on the backs of them.
Go with the old LA Lights. Let's go that retro with them, right?
Real Hydro PX. Tanner, can we know what is your everyday carry?
Sure. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I will. So my favorite, I've got a slim wallet from a company called
Woo!
Chester Mox.
Yeah.
Really like these guys.
I thought you were about to pull out a gun.
I do. I don't have that on me now but I carry a
Oh my
Kimber
God.
Micro 9. I do an
Okay.
appendix carry on
I didn't know
that.
if he was asking about wallet, but
No,
yeah.
EDC is mostly like your accessories or that kind of stuff, but a gun is part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I carry a Kimber, a
You
Micro
do a
9.
what do you think
Yeah.
about man bags or man I don't wanna say man purse or European carry-all, but
If you're in Europe, it works. Or if you're one of these like Gucci guys that does like the cross breed because that works, then that, and again, that comes down to communication. For me in Utah as a dad in the suburbs, none of that works. And so I just carry simple stuff. I've got a little buck knife, pocket knife. I've got my keys. I've got my wallet. And then depending on where I'm going out, I'll have my handgun with me. But other than that, it's pretty minimal. That's another reason why I love all the guys that like get cargo short dorky, where it's like, I have, my tape measure and I have my, I've got my third backup flashlight and I've got my extra tourniquet that's, not the one that I actually have with my concealed carry clip. It's like, dude, you're going to the grocery store.
I have
You
an
know?
extra pair of underpants in case something
Exactly.
happens.
Yeah. It's like you're going to the grocery store. So you again be cognizant of where you're going and what you're doing, as opposed to having to be on you all the time.
What do you think of this trend? The Harry Styles wearing skirts and dresses on men. What is behind this trend? What is going on with this? I feel like seeing this confuses and frightens a lot of people.
I hate it so much because what it is a postmodern androgenization that completely destroys the beauty of the complementary nature between men and women. And it
Ooh.
continues to perpetuate this idea that you can pick one of 57 different genders, that there is no such thing as a biological difference between men and women, or that because things are culturally constructed, like, oh, the only difference between a kilt and a skirt is what the value we attribute to it. Fine. That's fine that's the only difference between it, because one represents masculinity and warfare and status, and the other represents softness and femininity. And so what crap like this represents is androgyny, nihilism, postmodern victimization. And so stuff like
Ooh.
this is absolute crap, and I hate it.
I thought you were going to say the difference between a kilt and a dress is like if there's balls underneath.
That's what it's rooted in, right? Yeah.
Like
No,
this
this
guy's
stuff bugs me. And the thing that also bugs me about this is that this only happens because the average guy is so complacent about his appearance.
Mm,
If we had a positive masculine approach to aesthetics, if we had your average
yeah.
guy trying to find a way that he could dress with dignity, it wouldn't give people like this the wiggle room to start to move in directions like this. This wouldn't have passed 40 years ago. This wouldn't have passed
Wow.
140 years ago. The only reason this happens is because the average guy tries to convince himself he doesn't care about clothes.
Wow. Yeah, this to me looks like, oh, you let your little sister dress you up, but like don't go outside, Don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting take that you have on that. This is all there is. Hi, Chrissy. I'm funny too. Someone trying to simp for $2. Senior sticks, metal hair pieces is the way to go. No muss, no fuss.
We're going real like Blade Runner real quick with that, aren't we?
Yeah. From more MAGA, sockless with nice shoes. I see that on fancy Italian guys. What is that?
So the Italian guys who do this, and this again is another one that was kind of a big trend a little while ago. It's starting to move its way out. But what this is dressing in formal clothes, like suiting. And I know that this is going to sound really kind of pedantic and overly nuanced, but there is like a whole spectrum between really casual suiting and really formal suiting. And for the Italian guys that live in this kind of stuff all the time, and I worked in suiting for a little while, I personally love this look, is they want to wear suits and look like they're wearing them because they want to, and because it's an everyday, normal, common type of thing, as opposed to because this is a corporate dress code that's infringed upon me by my overlords. And that's sadly how most Americans kind of associate suits and ties. And so there's still limitations here. You have to do it with more casual style suiting, which usually means seasonal materials, a lot of texture. The shoes have to be done right, where it's going to be loafers or double monk straps. You're not going to do it with a pair of like cap toes or some hole cuts or something that's going to be really formal that way. But when you do it right, it's a pretty cool look.
All right, awesome. How important are what's a good sign? Like, get rid of your shoes, because I feel like someone's gonna be like, "I'm overwhelmed. I have to buy a whole new wardrobe." Like, how would you prioritize? Is there like shoes are more important than a coat, or does it just depend on where you feel like you need help?
So yeah, it'll depend on, I would say, prioritize whatever you're going to be wearing the most frequently. And again, sadly, this is where a lot of guys will say, okay, well, I'm going to start with suiting. It's like, well, if you wear a suit twice a year, don't start with that. Yeah, it's worth it to make those 2 times absolutely count when they have to, but don't start with that. And so if your shoes are crap, especially because that's where the health implications start to come in as well, by all means, go to Target, look at their house brand, their Goodfellow and Co. Buy $6 t-shirts. This t-shirt that I have on is from Uniqlo. It cost me $8, but the fit's great, and so I feel great in it. Buy cheap jeans, but then buy a good pair of shoes. Buy a good pair of stylish sneakers. Maybe, depending again on what your aesthetic is. Maybe if you're a little bit more refined, it's going to be some Adidas Stan Smiths that are kind of classic that way. Or if you're a little bit more rakish, you can go with some Nike, like the Jordan 1s or the Air Force 1s. Or if you're more rugged, you can get a pair of Chukka boots or some classic work boots and something that's going to work that way. But pay more for your shoes, because that's going to affect your health as well.
For sure. Like, I've always, just from running around New York City for years, like, I think of my shoes as like my tires when I like didn't have a car. It's like,
100%.
and especially like when I see women out, like I can tell like the like late at night, like they're like a baby deer like in a field. They don't know how to use their legs yet. Like I can tell like, oh, that woman like doesn't wear high heels ever. She doesn't
Nope.
know how to shop for heels. It's like, then don't wear heels out. Like,
Yeah.
wear what
Wrong
you're
time.
comfortable in. And I wish there was like a female version of you that could help women, but maybe women, I don't know, we're always on Instagram. Like, we're not on YouTube, we're more on Instagram, we're more like
Well,
on
man, you're
Pinterest.
such a different breed. Because I get asked this. I think especially since Michaela's show, I've picked up a number of women followers, and anytime I do an AMA on Instagram, it's always, do you know of a female equivalent who does what you do? And I don't. I wish I did. Whoever figures it out is going to make so much money doing it. But I've put my wife through my program. I've worked with like other wives of friends, and it's such an eye opener for how different men and women are, because the different things that we approach, like that men really struggle with. My wife is like, "Oh no, I want all of that. None of that conflicts. I just want all of that." Or the things that really resonate with guys, she's like, "I hate having to think about it that way." And it's the same thing with the other women that I deal with. So I wish that it just translated over.
And I think so much of marketing for women is like psychologically involved, or men are more like straightforward. So somebody posted this like just earlier. Someone explained why the woman in this ad, this is for, I think, Tommy Hilfiger. Why is the woman like not in good shape, but the guy is? And I'm like, I think this is an ad for women. Because they're the ones doing the buying. They want to look at fit guys, but they themselves don't want to feel the pressure. Like, hit the gym, bitch. Like,
100%.
no fat chicks. And I'm like, I just like seeing the psychology of these ad campaigns.
Totally. Yeah. It's such a good study on human nature, and even the fact of how this has changed with the rise of victim culture, with the fact that with second and third wave feminism and all of these other things, like you can't pretend that there aren't long lasting effects of all of these cultural movements.
Wow. Okay. It's interesting stuff. All right. I think we talked about sagging pants. Someone said wear an enormous cowboy hat to add height.
There
Someone
you
said
go.
that.
Yep.
What do you think of, I don't know how much you pay attention to like other men in the kind of like men's influence so sphere, like I don't know. I don't know even if there are that many, but I want to know like what you feel about, a couple months ago there was this guy, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Jack Murphy. He
Yeah, I know
he
Jack.
was he was like a conservative, like, and
Mhm.
he was, he'd been on my show a couple times. Very much a conservatively angled influencer type guy, smart, did great interviews. He was a regular on Tim Pool, and then like his chatterbait porn videos were leaked, and he didn't really quite own up to them, and some would say his whole fucking reputation is ruined. Like, what was your thoughts as it was coming out, and like also what would be your advice to him now?
That was really sad for me to see that because Jack's a friend. We've spoken at the 21 convention before. I think, his first guest on his podcast, actually, when he
Oh,
first started it up.
wow.
Yeah. So I've known Jack for a number of years. I wouldn't say, we probably would talk once or twice a year. And a lot of times it was just when we were kind of in the same place. And man, I think the only way that I can really sum up what my take on all of this is so I'm a religious man. Being in Utah, it's probably not hard to assume that I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I just see all of the things that Jack has put himself through, or all the things that he's experienced, as so easily avoidable if he had the gospel in his life. If there were that as kind of like your moral guiding star. And I understand his rationales behind things. And sadly, at the same time, so much of that it's wrong. It's degenerate, it's wrong, it's immoral, and I understand the rationalization. And so I hope that for him it becomes an opportunity to recognize not only that it was wrong, which I think he does, but also why it was wrong and how it was wrong. And it becomes an opportunity to grow and become better. So I really do. I hurt for him. I hurt for his kids. I hurt for her. It's a crappy situation all around.
Yeah, he done my show times, and like he was on my other show, Wet Spot, which is like a fun, goofy, like I have a like comedians on. We
Mm-hmm.
discuss like sexual topics, and we even joked about him putting out a sex tape, and he was like, haha, anyway. And I was like, man, you could have
Oh,
fucking owned up to it. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think if you're not, don't put yourself or let yourself be put in a box if you're not that thing, because then it's like a house of cards. You can be tipped over. And I wonder if part of it for him was like the excitement of being found out. It's like
maybe. Yeah, I didn't think about
once
that.
he did his first talk where like this is who he wants to be, this is his future. It's like you got to wipe all that other shit, or like
Right. Or own
pay
it.
someone a lot of money or own it, or be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I think he should have owned it more, owned it harder. I don't know. But I
Well,
don't
and
think it was a good idea that he
there's something that's so freeing about that, because I certainly don't have any skeletons like that in my past, but I've been divorced. I was a nerd growing up. I was a dorky kid, and I love showing photos or kind of talking about some of my own things, because this is what's so sad, and what was such a missed opportunity is people want to see real growth. And it was such a good chance to show what real growth looks like, to show, yeah, I made this mistake, and here's the ways that I've worked from and tried to improve it and all of that. And I'm always sad when there are other guys that are in this space that try to hide what was in the past, as opposed to owning up to it and saying that's part of the reason why I am where I am, and that's part of why I'm on the trajectory that I'm on.
Yeah, I think a video would have been good, like sometime during, I guess, December, or when it was all crazy. I
Yeah,
just
in
don't
the
think he
middle.
should.
Yeah.
And I know he had like I think he thought he was getting good advice from people that he admired, and like I guess the advice was to stay silent, but uh yeah, I don't know. I hope he comes back from it. I hope he's not like ruined for it.
Yeah. And I hope it's a real
Yeah.
growth opportunity for him. I hope he really comes out better for it. And if so, then great. I will totally embrace that. I really hope that that's what the case is for him.
When did you go from someone who was like, "Oh, I'm noticing my strengths are with like noticing what looks good on guys or on myself," like what made you want to like pursue this as a career?
I never really had any intention to pursue it as career. I started Masculine Style as a blog about 10 or 11 years ago. And the only reason I even started trying to make any money off of it was as a result of my divorce. My reputation had been totally ruined. My ex-wife had accused me of adultery, and I wasn't able to get things. We had some stipulations in the divorce decree that involved selling our condo that I wasn't able to meet because we were underwater because of the time that we bought. And I ended up serving like 48 hours in jail for contempt of court. And so when you do a Google search on my name, it was nothing but awful stuff. And so I was making $13 an hour at a local credit union when my wife was having our first baby, and we knew that we wanted her to be able to be home full time. And that was a sacrifice that we were trying to make. And I couldn't find a better job. So I thought, well, I'm getting some momentum with the blog. What if I start offering services to guys? And, I still have a screenshot of that first month I made $450. And
Oh,
it was
wow.
enough money for me to be able to not ask my parents for help and to not have to max out the credit card to pay the bills. And it's just been a slow build ever since then. That led to me, being able to work in custom suiting for a few years and kind of build up my own technical experience and expertise and network and everything there. And then the coaching has been all I've done now for the last 5 years. This is the full-time gig, and I love it because I make a great living. I get to control my schedule. I get to work from home. My wife doesn't have to work at all. I get to provide for my family. And so in a lot of ways, I really appreciate what the absolute ringer that my ex-wife put me through, and the fact that my reputation was totally destroyed, because otherwise I'd be working some tech job like everybody else in my suburb is.
Oh, wow. What a nice story. See, like you had like I mean, everyone has a past. Everyone goes through shit. Life is hard for
Yep,
everyone. There's always going to be suffering, but it's like what you do with it and how you overcome it is what it's all about.
totally.
Tanner, it was so great to talk to you.
It's been a blast.
Yeah, you're the best. Where can people go to follow you other than your Instagram and your Twitter at Tanner Guzy, and I guess masculinestyle.com. Anything anywhere else they should go?
Yeah, if you want to check out kind of the whole summation of what all this is, you can go read my book. It's called The Appearance of Power, and you can find that
Ooh.
on Amazon or on Audible. And then if you want an even like quicker summary, go look up my TEDx talk. You can just look up Tanner Guzy TEDx,
Oh,
and you'll be able to see that
yeah,
too.
your TEDx talk. How long was that?
Yeah. Like how long ago, or how long was the talk?
Both.
Okay, so that was back in August of 2021.
Oh,
This is the
wow.
most stressful thing about doing a TED event is I love speaking in public. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old in church. And so you give me 45 minutes or an hour and a half, and I will just go up on stage and I'll have a blast. Like I love workshopping, I love teaching, but TED has a very hard cutoff of like 16 minutes. And
16
it was
minutes?
so short. Yeah. And
Oh,
so
God.
it was brutal. And so I never really stress public speaking because I love it, but the amount of times that I actually had to like practice and do run throughs, because to try to take a decade's worth of material that nobody else is talking about and do it in a way that it makes sense for everybody and truncate it down to that period of time was a fun challenge.
Damn, that's like yeah, that's like being told, like, as a comic that, yeah, you have, like, do a type 5 to
Yeah,
submit it
and
for,
make everybody laugh.
yeah.
Good
Oh,
luck.
that is not enough time at all. Oh, this is a
Yeah.
nice comment from American Legend. "You're authentic, Tanner. You seem so genuine, and I respect that huge. You're not out there Bible thumping. You're just living a good life, and others can see that and learn from it."
Thank you. That's it gives me chills. Thank you. I really appreciate that
Aw.
compliment. Yeah.
Alright, this was an awesome talk. Everybody follow Tanner. Look at your closets, look for ways you can upgrade subtly, throw out the affliction shirts maybe if you can part with them.
Definitely get rid of the affliction shirts. Just go to black solid tees, and that's already an upgrade.
Yeah, and just get like 10 and you're good, I
Yeah,
guess.
you're set. Awesome.
Aw,
Chrissy, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me
this was
on.
great. Thank you, chat, for your comments. Until next time, bye.